It is the final race ahead of the 5-week break from Formula 1 as a result of 2 cancelled races, and it's the Japanese Grand Prix that ends the first opening rounds. And of course, with that being the case, there's not going to be a huge amount of upgrades coming for the majority of the teams. But having said that, there is one team we're going to touch on, which really we're going to have a lot of focus on, and that is quite obviously Aston Martin. Outside of that, after we've gone over that, we're going to go over what everyone else may be bringing to the track and the circuit-specific upgrades to do with the actual layout of it, because it is very much a higher downforce circuit, unlike any of the other 2 rounds we've had thus far in 2026. Right, let's get on with the Aston Martin team. Now, as we know, Aston Martin have had a absolutely disastrous opening to a 2026 campaign. Of that, we can have no doubt. And with this being the manufacturer Honda's home race, a lot rides on it to be able to implement significant improvements to the engine, primarily the vibrations, and to actually have a car finish the race in a competitive manner. That is the aim of the game with this upgrade that Honda are rumoured to be bringing, and it's a substantial one. They're looking to completely remove the vibrations from not only the engine, but how it vibrates the chassis and the drivers. On top of that,
Formula 1 is back down under for the first round of the 2026 season. After 6 days of testing in Bahrain, it's time to see who the big hitters are.
In this initial phase 1, let's call it that for this video, Honda engine, Aston Martin have been given from them. And it's rumoured they are around 80 to 100 brake horsepower down on that of the leading engine, which is of course Mercedes. So if they can unlock the maximum performance, it's going to bring a huge leap, not only in the timings, to see them not at the bottom but somewhere near the top, and of course that would be fantastic for them as a result. It would leave Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll probably having the best weekend they've had in 26, where they're able to actually begin to truly test the AMR 26's chassis and the aero they currently have. Outside of that, I think maybe we could expect a few tweaks to perhaps some of the aero on the AMR 26 and the chassis, perhaps because we haven't necessarily had that big of an upgrade come from any of the opening 2 rounds prior to this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix. We've had little bits here and there, a new front ring, we've had a update to the top of the floor at the front of it with those 2 additional strakes to introduce outwash. But outside of that, nothing. So we could see, in terms of the pecking order, a monumental change with Aston Martin going from the worst team on the grid easily to being somewhere near the middle of the midfield or the top of the midfield, being that 5th place team. I don't expect that because they've not been able to run the car in a competitive manner, and there will be all sorts of other issues that come with having more engine power, I'm sure. Now let's turn our attention to the Suzuka racetrack. This is a high downforce circuit, of that there is no doubt. Most of the corners are extremely fast, over 200 kilometers an hour. We have the first sector, which is, I think, arguably one of the most enjoyable sectors a Formula 1 driver will actually say it is. I think the amount of downforce you can generate through there will be amazing. Of course, if we're talking about this season, who knows what the hell we're going to have going on through that section. They may not even use any of the energy through there because it's just a whole set of corners, and maybe they're just not pushing the cars anywhere near to the maximum capability they have, particularly in qualifying. So it could be quite a depressing state to find in. But yeah, outside of that, we have other teams. I think we're going to see a much closer fight at the front between Ferrari and that of Mercedes, particularly as this is a circuit which very much rewards a fantastic chassis and very strong aero. That is what Ferrari's strengths at the beginning of the 26 season, not so much Mercedes's. Theirs is more engine, and I think that could very much close the gap between the two outfits this weekend, and it could be Ferrari's biggest opportunity to actually be able to hunt for maybe a pole position and potentially a position higher than third place. And with that being said, maybe they will look to introduce a very minute addition to their SF26, and perhaps Mercedes likewise. But I think, as we know, we have a 5-week gap now with the 2 race cancellation in April, which is going to give all of the teams huge amounts of time to be able to further refine the upgrade packages they have for Bahrain and bring a bigger one, a substantially greater package, in time for the first race we have after this 5-week break, which is in Miami. I think we're going to see major, almost B-spec changes to a lot of the big teams. I think Red Bull would be one of them, McLaren another, pretty much on the weight saving aspect for both of those teams. Last week, or last race in China, there was a ridiculous photo taken at the most opportune and perfect time, which basically proved Red Bull is some 25, 26 kilograms or 20 kilograms over the minimum weight limit, which is a huge amount. They're given nearly a second of that time up, I believe. So there's a huge amount of potential left in the car. And the situation is very much the same for McLaren. It's all about a weight-saving measurement, getting all of the weight of all of the parts, the components, the bodywork as light as possible. If they can do that, they should have a much better, let's say, mid-portion of the season as a result of that, because they're essentially at the moment giving up a free lap time as a result of being these 20 somewhat kilograms over that weight limit. Even if you take into consideration some of the other teams, they are still, majority of them overweight. They're still probably giving up 15 kilograms to their competitors as well. So a lot of free lap time to be gained from just weight saving measures, let alone actual aero upgrades. And then we have no inclination of what any team will actually be bringing outside of what we've now just discussed. And that is where we're going to wrap this very video up. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and of course turn on notifications for all future content here on the channel. Right, I will see you across the Japanese Grand Prix weekend, I'm sure, with some more videos in this week. Catch you then.